Everybody, I'm Jeff Emsel. I'm the Executive Director of the Greensburg-Decatur County Chamber of Commerce. We appreciate you joining us on this video conference with Ginnie Fowler from the SBDC. If you all have, and I think you all have your mics muted, and if you can keep those muted, that's terrific. Our chat room is open, so as Ginnie talks about her topic today, if you want to ask a question, feel free to ask that question in the chat room, and or just raise your hand and we'll see to it that your question is answered, at least try to be answered. We are recording this event today. We will have it available on our YouTube channel after this is over. And we hope you have some great information, that you get some great information. We've had a lot of people talking about and that's one of the most often calls we get is what is an essential business? And as you all know, the governor's 20-18 ordinance remains in effect until May 1st at this time. And so we have a hotline, or actually a website that you can go to ask and find out what essential businesses are. And that is coronavirus.in.gov. And I know some local businesses have contacted the governor's office themselves, determine if they are an essential business. I hate that word essential business because all business is essential to me. But understandably so. Hey, it's trying times and we want to get right to this. We'll probably have a lot more people coming in as we go on. Again, we are recording this. We appreciate you all being here today on this event. And we're going to try to do a second one later on this week. We'll talk about in just a few minutes. Folks, if you've never met Ginnie Fowler from the SBDC, she operates out of our office here in Greensburg when she's needed. She covers several counties in southeastern Indiana, and she is just absolutely, in my opinion, top-notch, helping with business plans, with people opening a business, with people that want to get out of business. She's the person to go to. I highly recommend her, and we're going to turn it over to her and let her take control of the screen, and we'll go on from there. Again, I'll be watching the chat room along with my assistant, Don Lowe, who's on the call with us today. And we appreciate everything that she has done for us. Trust me, she's really working hard during this time. Unbelievable how busy we've been, but that's okay. We want to help businesses survive. Ginnie, go ahead and get started.
All right. Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, everybody. Again, my name is Ginnie Fowler. I work for the Indiana Small Business Development Center. And I give no charge business advice to anybody who wants to start a business, expand a business, or commercialize a product. Basically anything, anything that there is out there in business. And if I don't know the answer, I try to get the resource for people. I appreciate Jeff letting me come on and talk on this. I'm going to get started here, and we're going to talk about it. In order to get started, though, I'm going to need to share the screen. And so I'm going to get my information right now, the presentation. And hopefully you can see that. Oops. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Can you see that, Jeff?
Yes.
And I have to say that I wish I had as good a background as Jeff Emsweller has. But unfortunately, we're just in my office. He looks like he's on the top of the world, at least in Greensburg. Okay, today we are going to talk about a really important aspect of coming out of this shutdown period. And this hopefully will get your minds thinking about something totally different than what they've been thinking about so far. And so far, at least the impression that I've gotten from most people is that they're thinking about, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I get a lot of panic calls, and hopefully I've gotten through a lot of that and talked about the new SBA programs, the CARES Act, and all the relief programs that are available, which I can talk to people about that all day. But that said, the better thing to be focused on, I think, right now is after you get your financial situation in house and going along, you're going to have some downtime, and you need to be thinking about, okay, what do I do now with my customers? That's what we're going to talk about today, is how do I put together a marketing plan right now that I can use as soon as we come out of this shutdown, or even I could use while we're in this time. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We are going to use a process that I use a lot and something that I want to introduce to you, and that's called the business model canvas. Now, this is a process of business modeling or business planning that's really simple and fast. It cuts to the chase without having to do the giant business plan that you write out, but this gets you through all the elements of the business plan. Now, we're going to take just a few of those elements today that are related to the marketing piece that is important no matter whether you're running a business in this environment or any environment. Okay, so if you look at this business model canvas, on the right side, you will see those things related to revenue generation and those things on the left that are related to cost. All right, we're going to talk on both sides of this, and I'm going to use this going back and forth to show you kind of what those elements are. On the right side, that includes customer segments and value proposition, as well as customer relationships and channels. All right, today we're going to talk about 6 ways to start your survival plan. And again, this is just a start, but it is kind of a down and dirty method that I use with people. At least a lot of the elements are down and dirty that I use with people that makes it fast and easy to think about. All right, on the left side, first we're going to talk about 3 elements that really define your target customers and what they need. And that was on the left side. On the right side, we're defining then how to reach those customers now. So some things have changed, right? The whole world has changed, it seems like, at least for small businesses. Things have changed. And so consequently, we are going to look at how we start thinking about that change and how do we think about our business relative to all that change around us. All right. The first thing we need to look at when we start with the survival plan is defining our target customers' needs, especially now. Okay? Target customers. You will take money from anybody who wants to spend money in your store and buy what you have to sell. Whether you're sell products or services, they have green money, they want to buy it, you're going to sell it. But you're not going to spend your time and your money and your effort marketing to just anybody. You don't have unlimited funds, especially now. And so consequently, you need to target those customers who are the most loyal and the most profitable. All right, those customers reside on the business model canvas on the right side of the screen, right? These are the customer segments that are the ones that you're targeting. Now, segments are those characteristics within those customers that hold them together, right? Certain customers or customer groups have similar characteristics, and they define what your customer segments are or your target customer segments. What's important is understanding what those characteristics are, especially in today's environment, right? What do your customers need today? Those characteristics may come in 4 forms, right? They might be demographic characteristics. They're things like marital status or socioeconomic status, or where are they spending their money, where do they live, those kinds of things. They might be geographic characteristics. In other words, location, location, location. Where are they? They might be psychographic, right, characteristics. Psychographic characteristics are those characteristics that motivate people. What are their motivations? Why are they doing what they're doing? And by the way, that really applies today in these COVID-19 conditions, all right? And then they might be behavioral. Consequently, how do you behave? How do they spend their money? How do they especially like to be communicated with, all right? Under those target customers, which customers now, you need to ask yourself, still need my product or service? You might have already looked at your old target customers and said, okay, now, though, are they the same? Have they changed? And what needs do they have today? What needs do my customers still have that I can fulfill? And how have they changed from what they were before we went into this shutdown. So before, say, March 1st. That's the first thing that we need to do when we're defining or starting our survival plan, is understanding our target customers' needs. Everything about what you do in your small business should be foundationally predicated on your customers. All right, that's the first step. Second step, then, once you've defined your customers' needs, how do you define your business's core competencies against those needs? All right? What is it that you do really, really well? Which things are you doing on a daily basis or have done in the past that are super important to your customers? And that on the business model canvas is called those key activities, right? It switches from the revenue side of the equation over to the cost side of the equation. Because this is the thing, these are the most important things that your company has to do to make your business model work. And it's the things those are the things that could possibly set you apart. Ask yourself, what am I really good at? What is this business really, really good at? Do I communicate well? Do I deliver products well? Am I good at sourcing? What am I really good at? And then ask yourself, how can I or we leverage those unique skills and resources to create and deliver value to those customers within this context of COVID-19, right? If your target customers' needs have changed, then you need to ask yourself, how can my core competencies still fulfill those needs? And then if your target customers' needs haven't changed, all right, I can guarantee you the way they go about getting your value or the thing they're buying from you has changed. How can I continue to get that to them and continue to deliver while I am capitalizing on my core competencies? All right, those are the first two things. First, we define our target customer needs now. And next, we define, okay, what about me? What are my core competencies? The last thing on this stage that we need to do, and has been leading up to this one thing, and you can see it's in the middle of the business model canvas for a reason. It is one of the most important things that you will do, whether your business was not in this COVID-19 shutdown or whether it is, which all of you are. The value proposition is one of the core foundational elements of your business. And a value proposition is just a big term for saying, what do I do that's different from everybody else doing what I do? Hopefully, the needs that your customers have overlap with your value proposition, right? And I didn't say in your value proposition, what do I do better than what everybody else does? I said, what do I do differently? Hopefully that can capitalize then upon your core competencies. Now, what's hidden in there that I didn't say, but that is insinuated is, you know what everybody else is doing. You need to look at what your key competitors are doing and say, all right, what do they do well? We call that a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, that's it. Sorry, my phone is ringing in the background. I don't know how to stop that. Once you understand that, once you're able to articulate your value proposition, now you have to look at, does that value proposition actually fulfill or overlap with what my customers need? If my target customers need something different now than what I've been providing, now we have a problem, right? It doesn't add up. Therefore, ask yourself, is there anything new that I can provide that might meet those customer needs? And are there things that I provide that my customers might need reminded of that I provide it, or maybe they don't know. Awareness is often a big problem with people. Customers don't realize that you offer this great product or service. They don't realize it, and if they have new needs, especially if it fits with those new deliveries, then they need to be reminded of that. All right, so it's important that you look at your value proposition, be able to articulate what that is that you offer that's different than everybody else who's doing what you do, right? But then looking at what the new target customer needs are and seeing if that is what they still need. All right, now we've looked at, on the customer side of the equation, defining our target customers' needs. We started out with looking at the target customers and how to define who they are, right? And then we said, all right, what needs do they have, and what needs did they have? What needs do they have now? Then we said, well, what do I do that's really, really good? What core competencies do I have? And we went back to our value proposition and said, okay, what is it that I can tell people that I do, specifically my target customers, that I do differently from everybody else? And hopefully that overlaps with our target customers. Also, is there anything new that I can offer, or anything that my target customers might not know that I offer today? After we've done that initial thinking, which is really important to do the thinking up front, now let's move over to the actual part of getting this information out to customers, trying to access them and communicate with them, which we call marketing. Also, this might mean that we need to develop some new things that we're doing. The first thing we need to do here is define our open channels for reaching customers. All right, that's a hard one, right? Okay, before, you may have had a retail store or some traditional way that you went to market that reached customers. It gave you an easy way to market and basically speak to those customer segments, right? It was a way that you sent your products to market, all right? Those are our channels of distribution and communication. Those channels actually may have changed in this environment. For a lot of people, they have, because they can't directly talk to people face to face, which especially in our area is important, because customers really like to talk to people face to face, but they haven't been able to. So now you have to think about which channels for reaching my customers are still open to me now. Do I have online channels that I can access? Can I still talk to people in some way, shape, or form? Can I use a phone? Can I use, am I allowed to take products out to their car, right? Are there channels that you haven't really ever used or thought of yet that maybe other people are starting to access? And the last thing, especially now, is how can I deliver value through an online or remote channel? Think about social media, right? Facebook and anything, even including YouTube. Email, can I use email to a better degree than I've used in the past? Do I have a list of my customers that I can even email them? My website, can I use and access my website to archive information? Then can I use new things like we're using right now, maybe Zoom, maybe Google Hangouts or Microsoft Teams or something other, right? Like House Party or something like that, in order to create an atmosphere of intimacy with your customer and communication. Or maybe can I use conference calls, right? Conference calls might be a great way to access your suppliers. And connecting people together is important. Okay, next step, after you've defined the open channels that you have right now for reaching your customers, both physically and in remote ways, now we're going to go off the business model canvas a little bit, because this is new ground. Think about collaboration rather than competition. Now, I already told you as part of the other, one of our other steps is defining your value proposition. Knowing what you do differently than everyone else who does what you do means that you had to look at your competition, specifically those local competitors, right? They're not the same as you. Or even some people who aren't competitors but might be in a sideline who are doing something that you may be able to align with. Ask yourself who you could work with to create and deliver value under the conditions that we've defined, right? Especially some of those remote conditions. Which of your competitors might be a viable partner? And what do you need today to deliver something different, right? Or to deliver something a little differently, or same thing a little differently? What do you need? Who has it? And how might you collaborate with them to make it work? That is not something that we're traditionally used to doing in business, right? We don't look to our competitors to collaborate. We might do it with our suppliers, right? We might even do it with our distribution channels, but we're not normally looking at our competitors to do that. In a small local market, it's important that everybody work together, and those competitors may benefit, but you also will benefit from collaboration. Now, not everyone is appropriate for that, but some people are. And now we've talked about defining your opening channels, right? The open channels now. We talked about collaboration, which is a totally new concept, right, to what we're normally used to. And now I'm going to talk about something that you probably are used to, but haven't used it maybe really super well in your community or in your business. And that is, ask yourself, how can I help my community? Those businesses that are willing to help in the community are the ones who are going to survive, especially in a smaller market. Who needs help in your community, and how can you deliver that? How might you collaborate with other people in your community to generate and deliver value? I've heard a lot of unique and creative ways to do that, right? Helping out emergency responders or maybe nurses and doctors. But how can you help other people within your community? And how can your business, right, offer their core competencies to help it? And who in your community might be willing to help you do that? Jeff has definitely stepped up to help do those kinds of things, and the chamber has. I know that Main Street has. I know that the Economic Development or the EDC has. I know that local people have. How can you band together with them to create a community environment to help? Those businesses that do that are seen by other people and customers, and that leads to really good marketing. Okay, we've gone through those 6 upfront thinking things that you need to do. Now let's get down to business. Let's get down to really doing something on a marketing plan. All right, I used to work at some really large companies, and we used a very similar process within all of those companies within marketing. I took that process and I distilled it down into this process for small businesses. It's fast, and it takes the information that you've thought through, right, to be able to create a plan for you coming out of this. Why do you need a plan? You need a plan so that you have some sort of documented piece that you can follow. All right, here is the marketing plan. Now, I left off the top quarter of the year because we're already through that, right? But you can see in this, the 3 quarters that are left in the year, each one of them are denoted by a month, right? April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Okay, this is what we're going to start with. And it has an X in the middle, and each one of those 4 quadrants within the X has a little a theme. So let's start. There are 3 steps to this process for marketing planning. It shouldn't take you a lot of time if you've done a really good job of thinking through those first 6 steps. The first step to implementing this is determining the seasonality of your business by quarter and month, and adding the social media themes of those months, right? You've already thought through your target customers. So determine what your customers will be thinking about in each one of these months or in each one of these seasons, especially as we come out of this restriction. What are they thinking about? Customers have a lot of angst right now. They have a lot of concerns because a lot of the things they normally do, especially in the spring, have been put on the back burner. All right, when they come out of this, they might be frantic trying to get those things done. What are those things and how do they apply to your business? This then, once you've done the seasonality, this can become fodder or fuel for your social media posts, right? And your communications, bringing everything together. So follow your social media or your seasonality with their social media themes. Those are the two triangles every month that are denoted by this green outline, right? Once you've placed the seasonality on the top, you can just put a word or two of what the social media theme will be for you for that month. It needs to meet up with what your customers are thinking about and how that seasonality plays a part. All right, that was step one. Step two, this is the fun part, the part I love about marketing, and that is the brainstorming part, all right? Brainstorm ways now that you can create reasons for your customers to interact with you. Think about big events to you, things that might be big events. They may have been shows that you might have gone to, or it might have been, an event that was running in town that everyone was involved in. It could be something that you create yourself, but a reason for your customers to interact with you. Now, before I would have said, hey, they need to interact with you face to face, but now that may be a remote interaction. Think events that you can do when this is all done. Could those events be done now online? Think about Zoom or Facebook Live, right? We're having events with our nonprofit neighbors all the time on Zoom or Facebook Live, and even our family. There's no reason why your customers can't be involved. And look at today. Jeff just sent out this invitation, and look at all these people wanted to be on board. Think about new products and services that you might roll out due to this restriction that may require an event. How can you tell your customers about it? And how can you use this time to create anticipation for that event? All right? Those events are in the right-hand triangle, all right? Where are you going to have those? What months are you going to have those? It gives you something to talk about, right? A reason to interact with your customers, something they need to know, all right? And it should probably take over your social media themes for those months. You should have at least 2 of those major events after May of this year. And you should be building anticipation for those right now. The brainstorming of those events is such a fun process, right? The things that maybe it delivers education, or maybe you're delivering a new product and service, which I think is super exciting. All right, last step, and you'll feel relieved. This is the last step to the process. Again, super fun one. It's about brainstorming, okay? Brainstorm ways to offer smaller or mini touch points for your customers to think about you in the rest of the months. So the rest of the months of the year when you're not having those events, think about ways that you can make them think about you. Gives you reasons to talk to them. Maybe you offer online or in-person scavenger hunts, or maybe it's picture posting or webinars, blogs, specialized sales and discounts, right? Participation in other people's events. This is where collaboration and community involvement might come in. Referral and recognition programs. Those, I can think of some very creative ways to do that today. Maybe e-commerce sales and rollouts, or pre-order events. Can they order now to give you things that you're going to be delivering and developing cash flow later? All right, those activities should be in all these other months, all the other months that you don't have your events. Now, you're not limited to 2 big events in the year. It's just usually people don't have enough time to be able to do more than 2. But if you want to do more than that, that's great. Maybe there are parades coming up, or maybe there are big online things that are being organized nationally or even regionally. Take advantage of those things. Also, use the time to develop communications, ways of communicating with your customers that they rely on. Okay, thank you very much for the time. What we've done is we've gone through all of that, the upfront thinking, the upfront communication, right? The upfront analysis, and we've put that into a very direct and tactical plan that we can deliver now and for the rest of the year. All right, thank you for allowing me to do that. I hope that was help. Are there any questions?
Ginnie, that was great information. We've opened up the chat room, of course, if anybody wants to ask any questions, but they can also just unmute themselves or raise your hand and we'll get you unmuted to ask those questions. A couple of things that you really pointed out. You were talking about the website education being developed, or being online is really important. And I just want you to know our organizations, and I'm talking about the Greensburg Chamber of Commerce, as well as Main Street Greensburg, Economic Development Corporation of Greensburg, Decatur County, Visit Tourism, Visit Decatur County, and the Decatur County Community Foundation. We are working hard to help people, help businesses, perhaps get an online presence. And I don't know, Amy, you want to mention something about that just briefly? Do you mind doing that? I know I'm catching you off guard, Amy, but if you can talk just a little bit about what we're going through with that process, that'd be great.
Sure. We are forming a course essentially that people can walk their way through to learn. Right now, the one we're really working on is Facebook, to know how to do all kinds of things on your Facebook business page, to learn how to create events and the different types of posts that there can be and all the ways to engage with your customers on there. So we are currently in the stages of developing that course for our business communities, to our community businesses to take advantage of.
So what's important is that the groups that we are communicating almost every day, several times a day. We've been working very hard to get this process going, and we brainstorm. You were talking about brainstorming. That's what we do. We brainstorm. How are we going to recover from this? What's it look like? And we don't know what the future looks like. We don't know what the social distancing guidelines are going to be. Are we going to be able to have events in person? Right now, the Women in Business Conference for the Chamber is on hold, and that's usually in June. I know that the Hospital Foundation hospital does a healthy fair, and that's usually in June. That's been moved to July. We hope that things will be okay by then. We aren't real sure yet, but right now the plans are changing every single day. So that online presence is going to be more important than ever, just as you said, Ginnie. We're open for questions, folks, if you have anything that you want to ask. And if not, Ginnie, you want to talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about next? I think it's going to be Thursday morning. We'll send an invite out. Let's talk about that for just a second. If people have anything they want to say.
So what we're going to be talking about on Thursday is business resiliency. How can we build some ability to withstand these kinds of things that come along? How can we build that up within our organization, and what things do we need to put in place in order to make ourselves a little more resilient and give ourselves skills that may help us come out of things like this?
Looking forward to it. Anybody have any questions? Folks, I'm going to ask one favor of you. If you have a chance today, this is a self-plug, sorry, I have to do this. The Greensburg Decatur County Chamber of Commerce is a membership-based organization. We've been in business since 1906. We aren't supported by taxpayer funds. At this point, 501c6 organizations are not included in any planned funding or assistance from the federal government. However, those congressmen, those senators continue to reach out to chambers of commerce so we can make those connections with local businesses. They are asking the chamber to step up with that, and we have stepped up with that. If you get a chance to drop Senator Braun a letter or a note that says, please consider 501c6 for your next level of funding and or assistance during this epidemic, this pandemic, I would really appreciate that. The chamber wants to be here to serve you. We've been here since 1906, like I said. I'm telling you what, I want to send kudos again to my assistant, Dawn Lowe. She has just been knocking it out of the ballpark. Our Facebook page, our social media page has just exploded. It's unbelievable. So, and again, we're in communication with our partners. We do appreciate the Community Foundation. We appreciate EDC and Main Street Greensburg and Tourism. Such valuable resources, folks. And trust me, we're all working together. We're excited to be a part of that. We do communicate with Rick Nobby and the county commissioners and Mayor Joshua Marsh. Appreciate them keeping us in the loop and letting us be a part of the conversation as well. With that being said, does Ginny have any pointers for very small staff organizations? Did you see that, Ginny?
I saw that. Is it relative to marketing planning, or is it, are we talking about the CARES Act or marketing planning? Okay, so small organizations, a good thing that small businesses should start working on is identifying the core customer base that they sell to, all right? So start with, how do I get an email chain going? How can I get all of their email addresses? How can start that process of collecting that? Another thing is, you really then should get them funneled into a social media presence. Unless you're a business-to-business type of business, selling business to business, you probably want them on social media. At this point, anyway, developing a way that you communicate with them is super important. Another thing, I had some small retail businesses. I have a lot of independent contractors, sole proprietor type people. Identifying who your target customers are is super important. But then also aligning yourself with like Main Street organizations and like Jeff's organization, the chamber, so you can take advantage of maybe all of the activities and things and marketing that they have going on. That's really important because they have marketing that's going on all the time. It's kind of dependent on the type of business that you have, but find that association or that group of people that helps and uses what you do and helps you get your information out. Because you don't have a lot of a lot of employees, it's hard to divvy up the work. I totally understand. But at this point, you're probably looking at a little bit of a slower workload. So consequently, I would also encourage you to go online like Amy is doing right now and looking at helping with Facebook. There are tons of tutorials online for different types of programs. Just pick one. Pick one online platform that you want to work with right now. Not all of them, right? But one. So for instance, Facebook talks to most people from a social media perspective. It's relatively straightforward and easy to use, and everybody's on it. So that might be one way. One thing that's also important is make sure you have your website tightened up. You aren't anybody online unless you have your website going on. So if you haven't spent time on that, this is a good thing to do right now. If you don't know how to do it, either reach out to someone who does, or go online and learn some of those, go through some of those tutorials. I do that kind of stuff all the time, and that helps you to become a better business person also. Google has a lot of things like Google My Business that you can use that goes across platforms also. Google My Business would be somewhere that I might get started on as well. And look at, okay, if I do one thing here in Google My Business, right, they can also help you with getting a small website started, where if you're really new into this online platform, it proliferates out to all their other platforms and customers can see you.
And so great points there, Ginny. Appreciate that. And again, the Chamber, EDC, Main Street Tourism, in the Community Foundation, we all have those resources. So reach out to us. We can hook you up with people in the community that are building websites, can build websites, can help you with your social media platform. If you don't want to do it, or if you don't have time to do it because you're worried about everything else, we have the connections to hook you up with somebody that can help you out. And we'll let them run that process. And most of them obviously are fairly reasonable, and it's a time when you really, really need to be thinking about that and have that presence.
So before we go, I want to just say one thing. First, I wanted to say thank you to you, Jeff, as well as to Dawn and Amy and Susan and Brian. You guys have been fantastic. Jeff, the Chamber of Commerce has really stepped up in your county. You guys really stepped it up, and you are so active. It is well worth being involved with your organization. You did a great job. I mean, I work in 6 counties in Southeast Indiana. There are a lot of chambers, and they did a good job, but Decatur County was one of the best.
It's because we have a great collaboration group here, and we have great partners, so we appreciate that. We also have great members. Ginny, you didn't have to do that, but I appreciate you doing it so much. Call your congressman or your senator. Call Senator Braun and say, fund 501c6.
I have it. I've got my, yes.
Do it now, because they're going to vote on that today, that next package. I'm told they're going to vote on that next package today, and 501c6 organizations still are not in there. So,
yes.
All right, we're going to continue with our plans on moving forward with the Chamber of Commerce and business for the community. We have a lot of things to work on here at the Chamber. We do appreciate everybody's support. Definitely appreciate that support. And listen, I'm asking for ideas. I want to know from you all, what does it look like in the future? What's the new normal going to be? I can't see us, in my opinion, I can't see us being out and about, sitting next to each other at restaurants the way we were. I can't see events the way they were. I can't see us having 150 business women in a conference room listening to speakers and things like that, not at least for a while. So what's the new normal look like? If you get a chance, shoot me an email at execdirector, EXEC director at greensburgchamber.com, because I really need input from what everybody thinks. I want to know what you think that new normal looks like. I do appreciate that. All right, so Ginny, final thoughts?
No, I would agree with you. I've been looking about that new normal, if you will. What are customers going to be concerned about? I also have been putting together ideas about that too. So it's important to look at that. Yes, that's it.
Not only for the community's sake, but for your sake as well. So Ginny, we'll see you on Thursday morning at 9 o'clock. Folks, we will send out another email with the link to the Thursday morning what we call it, keep the lights on, how to keep the lights on, business resiliency. Yeah, whatever we call it. So it's going to be another important one. And we can make these slides available to them, right? Is that correct, Jenny?
Yes. And I will send you that document that I use that I referred to with the green triangles. I can send that to you. And
this will be on our YouTube channel, and I will send you links. We'll make sure everybody knows the links. You can go back and watch us at your convenience, all right? Folks, with that being said, thank you for joining us today on this video chamber chat. We're excited that we're able to do this, and we'll go on from there. And thanks a lot. Talk to you later.
Thank you.